Hey, what's up guys? YouTube Ultra here. Welcome back to the channel. Gonna be jumping in here and doing a settings video for my Samsung 55-inch Odyssey Ark. Now this is the second gen version of the screen. Excited, very excited to be testing this thing out and obviously playing many new POV videos with this, along with my LG GX9. Now, this settings video, for those who are familiar with my channel or maybe not familiar, I do these settings videos because every POV video I make, I want everyone to be aware of the settings that I'm using, and so I create these. I always typically leave these linked in the pinned comment for each of the videos. So if you found this video, especially through one of those links, this again, I do this so you can see how I have things set up and how I've ultimately set my desktop and monitor settings for the video that you're watching. Now, with that, I want to do desktop settings first. First, I just want to bring up NVIDIA control panel settings here. Now, everything for desktop color settings is set to default. I have not done anything special with this. This is no adjustment, not even a digital vibrance or anything like that. Now here, I do want to note, at least, obviously in selecting the resolution, I am using the NVIDIA color settings right where I've manually set the output color depth to 10 here. I do want to note that refresh rate, just real quick, this is only set to 120 hertz because this helps with match my camera's shutter speed. This monitor goes 165 hertz when I'm playing and not recording. I obviously play that at 165 hertz with no issues. This is purely set this way because, again, if this is set to 165 hertz, there's a mismatch with the screen's refresh rate and the shutter speed of the camera, and it gets picked up like if the screen is flickering, even though I don't actually see that. So just want to note that. Now, G-Sync in all my videos is turned off for the same reason. Again, obviously with the monitor's refresh rate fluctuating around when something like this is turned on, it again creates a mismatch on the shutter speed with the camera, which is static, and so therefore, right, creates a flicker. So just want to note those settings here. Now, I'm also obviously using Windows HDR. I'm not going to go through it fully, but just want to show the calibration settings and how I have that set up. Pretty much all of this is set up per the directions. So in terms of the first screen, this is turned all the way down as I've set it. And both brightness screens, I set each one to 1000. Again, this is just following the directions on the menu itself, honestly. Again, not doing anything particularly special here. So both at 1000. And then here, when it comes to overall color saturation, I have set this to 70. Now, again, this is all personal preference. I haven't done any of this with like some kind of professional calibration. When I game, and particularly, I set the image to what I think looks best. So that's set to 70. This is my attempt at trying to recreate some of the colors of my OLED with the GX9. If you've watched that settings video, you know that on this menu, I set that to 60. And I want to just get out of that menu so I don't actually set up a new profile. Now, just to bring up the monitor settings here real quick. Now, this thing is basically a TV, so there are a ton of settings you can adjust here. First, going into picture settings, it's worth noting, so game mode is turned on. Now, the way this monitor works, for those who are curious, this has a game mode. When you turn game mode on, which you can do down here, you get locked out of picking any other picture modes. Now, why this is relevant is because game mode is how you access the 165 hertz if you're playing on PC. If you don't have game mode turned on and you decide to use another picture mode setting, just know that you will not have access to using the 120 hertz. So, or 165 hertz, sorry. So game mode is turned on. Now, even with that still, you can still adjust plenty of things here. Going through that, all of this is actually default, right? Brightness 50, contrast 50, sharpness 10, color 25, and then tint set to 0. Now, some of the settings where I do have made some adjustments here is looking at this. So local dimming set to high, just again, really taking advantage of the mini LED technology and reducing the overall bloom that obviously a monitor like this could produce. Set to high with contrast enhancer set to off. Now, everything I read about this monitor is that contrast enhancer can kind of create a conflict with the local dimming. So as I played with it as well, just turned this off. Now, HDR tone mapping. Now, personally, I don't really know what this actually does. I never really noticed a difference in between static or active, at least again that I've really been able to play with and notice. So this is set to active. Color tone set to natural here. Now, white balance, I have not made any adjustments. This is all just at 0. And gamma set to ST2084. That slider here, as well as shadow detail, both set to 0. And then color space settings set to native. Now, as you continue going down, there's actually one other thing here. So color tone. Now, obviously this is where you can change the warmth and everything. I kind of bounced back and forth between natural and standard. Personally, I prefer natural. So that's kind of what I've been playing with most of the time. Again, it's kind of a mix, but like I said, natural is where I've kind of landed. Now, in terms of game mode, so obviously game mode is turned on. Now, response time, I leave this at standard only because faster and extreme, it's extreme. I mean, faster is kind of fine, but particularly extreme, it just creates a lot of weird artifacting around any objects in a game when you start moving the camera around. It just creates this weird, like, sharpening border around the objects. It's just, honestly, like, it was actually really bothersome. When I first got this monitor, I had no idea what was creating that, so I'm really glad I found this setting because it was actually like ruining even using this thing. So yeah, I would just I leave that at standard. Now, really, there's not much you can change here except for what's in game picture mode. This is where you can turn on HDR10 plus gaming. You have off, basic, or advanced. Now, I've set this to advanced. Also worth noting that when it comes to game HDR, which, by the way, okay, this setting is off outside of a video game. When you are in a game, though, you get the same options here. So it's a whole separate setting. This is actually Samsung's HGIG adjustments. You can also set this to advanced. And so I just want to note that because when I'm gaming, both of these items here are set to advanced. Again, I've played with a combination of them. And again, just as a matter of personal preference to my eye, I like both of them set to advanced when I have a game on. And with that, that's pretty much it here. There's really nothing else of adjustment, right? Everything else is in terms of audio. We're just getting the thing generally set up, particularly with obviously internet and things of that nature. But yeah, overall, I have been really impressed with this screen. I was really interested in seeing what Quantum Mini LED would look like, especially coming from honestly me as primarily an OLED user. I've been very impressed with the colors. Again, even the black levels with local dimming has been very impressive with most games. There's still trade-offs. It's still not as good as OLED, right, in my opinion, but it's very close. And also just, I mean, the immersion factor with this thing is absolutely nuts. I've definitely been enjoying it in terms of my personal preference when I play 16:9, but even on a screen like this is third-person games. But I really have enjoyed playing it, and obviously I'll continue to record. Now with that, I am going to end this video here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, though, especially if I happen to have any questions about the monitor itself or anything like that. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for your support. Please don't forget that like button and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.